Good evening. Today is Monday, March 10th, 2025. I call to order a meeting of the Brockton City Council. Will everyone please rise and join me in honoring our country by saluting our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, agenda item number 1, please.
Item 1, we have the acceptance of the minutes of the February 3rd, 2025 special City Council meeting.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have the acceptance of the minutes of the February 10, 2025 City Council meeting.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have the acceptance of the minutes of the February 24th, 2025 City Council meeting.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have the appointment of the following retired police officer as a special police officer, Brian Kirby.
Refer this to Finance.
We have a hearing. We have the petition of Mass Electric Company DBA National Grid to install one SO pole on Minot Ave. National Grid petitions to install one new NG pole, 35 feet plus or minus from pole 5, in order to provide support to the infrastructure on Minot Ave. Install new pole-to-pole guy wire, 35 feet plus or minus from pole 5 to pole 6. In City Clerk's office, February 14th, 2025. Hearing assigned for March 10th, 2025. All paperwork is on file.
Time having arrived, I declare this hearing open. Is the petitioner present? And if so, please come forward and give your name and address to the clerk.
My name is Mohammed. I'm working for National Grid, address 100 East Ashland Street, Brockton.
Good evening, Mohammed. Good to see you again.
It's nice to see you. There is a big tree in the last house at our property. It is a dead tree, so the owner of the house is removing it. In that tree, we had an anchor kind of supporting all the poles. Due to the fact that the tree is being removed, we needed to put a pole to support the other poles in that neighborhood.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone here in favor of this petition? Seeing none, I declare this portion of the hearing closed. Is there anyone in opposition? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Now comes, councilors, any questions for petitioner? No? Right, now the question comes on granting by a hand vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The petition is granted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Item number 6, we have the report of the Finance Committee for its meeting of February 18th, 2025.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have the report of the Finance Committee for its meeting of March 3rd, 2025.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have a communication from the Chief of Police requesting the appointment of the following retired officer as a special police officer, Brian Kirby.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and filed.
Communication from the Mayor in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize a transfer of $200,000. These funds will be used to purchase real property revaluation services.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and filed.
We have a communication from the Mayor in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, recommending that the City Council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the grant award in the amount of $3,500 from the Department of Industrial Accidents to the City of Brockton. These funds are in addition to the original $5,000 that was awarded to the city in November 2024 as part of the Workplace Safety and Education Grant.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and filed.
We have a communication from the Chief of Police requesting authorization to expend grant monies related to the Massachusetts Unwanted Opioid and Benzodiazepine Product Stewardship Program of $1,300 from the MED project.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the BPD grant writer relative to the same.
Accepted and filed.
Communication from the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and filed.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and filed.
Communication from the Superintendent of Parks requesting acceptance and expenditure of the state appropriation received through Department of Conservation and Recreation in the amount of $15,000. These funds will be used to make upgrades to the fields at the Gilmore School. There is no required match for this appropriation.
Accepted and placed on file.
Communication from the Mayor recommending the same.
Accepted and filed.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accepted and filed.
Communication from the Chief of Police requesting authorization to expend grant monies related to the FY 2024 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Grant, JAG, from the U.S. Office of Justice Programs in the amount of $62,461.
Accept and place on file.
Communication from the BPD grant writer relative to the same.
Accept and filed.
Communication from the mayor recommending the same.
Accept and filed.
Communication from the CFO relative to the same.
Accept and filed.
Unfinished business, we have the appointment of Dr. Eliza J. Wilson of Brockton, Mass. to the Brockton Redevelopment Authority for a 5-year term ending in February 2030. In City Council, February 24, 2024. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Mr. President?
Councilor Farwell.
Mr. President, on the appointment, let me spend a couple of minutes here and indicate I have no problem with the appointment of this person by the mayor. But I do want to talk about the Brockton Redevelopment Authority a little bit. In 2023, we brought a new executive director on board. Her name was Natalie Jean. And she worked very, very hard to try to correct many different problems that existed in that organization. HUD actually did a financial review and found some issues that needed to be corrected, and they issued a report. What wasn't done was an examination of some of the conduct of the employees in the BRA during the years, let's say, 2020 to 2023. I have here, and I've reviewed a report, and I've reviewed documents. This happens to be a paychecks information change report, which was used for payroll purposes. And on May 2nd, 2023, without the authority of the executive director, 3 salaries were increased. One from $71,000 to $82,500, another from $90,000 to $97,500, and one from $60,000 to $70,000. I don't know if any of that money was collected by these people. There is also a question, based on the reports that I've read, of data being scrubbed from a database, emails being discarded. And in my opinion, folks, that agency should have a top-to-bottom review by the U.S. Attorney. We should file a request that the U.S. Attorney assign someone to go back over the records of the BRA so that we have a firm foundation going forward. It doesn't seem fair to me to take an appointee and put them on a board, maybe later on to find out that there are major problems, and some of those splash over onto her good name and reputation. So the documents exist. This just happens to be one of them. I'm not going to move to table this because I understand some people are anxious to go forward, but in my opinion, that's what should be done. So I'm going to vote no, only because I don't think we should put an appointee on the board until we've had a thorough review by federal authorities, because it's all federal funds in the BRA. It is not state funds, it's not local funds. They own property. I think we need to look into that, make sure that we're fine with how the deeds are worded. For a whole host of reasons, we owe it to ourselves and to the residents of this city to make sure that we have dotted the I's, crossed the T's, as they say, and we've looked into the activities of that agency. I feel badly for Natalie Jean. She did everything she could to try to correct things, and it got to the point where, as you all know, the mayor has taken control of that and placed it with Mr. May, which I think is the right thing to do. But there's an unfinished piece of that. Why did people go into the payroll system and change, allegedly, payroll amounts, in one case for their mother-in-law? Why were data scrubbed? Why were emails perhaps deleted? I don't know, but I think it calls for an investigation, and for that reason, I'll be voting no.
Thank you, Councilor Farwell. Councilor Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. In light of this information that Councilor Farwell just brought forward, I think it would be unfair for us to vote against a dedicated individual that came to this body to volunteer in a community board. So what I would suggest, and I would make a motion, that we postpone this for about 2 weeks which would allow us some time to figure out exactly what's going on before we put this well-qualified individual into this particular position. Because by voting no, it will look like we're voting against the individual. And I think if we just kind of pause it for a little bit, get some more information that we need to get, I think it makes us all, at least it would make us look like we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we get to the bottom of this, instead of just coming out and, finding out that she was approved by a 6-5 vote or whatever vote. So if okay with the colleagues here, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone this item for about 2 weeks or so.
If we could hold off on that motion, Counselor, thank you, Counselor.
Well,
We just want to get everybody.
You got to get a second.
Second.
Okay. So what was the motion? A motion to postpone?
Postpone it for a
2
couple.
weeks.
Counselor Nacastro.
Thank you. The candidate for the position, Dr. Eliza Wilson, is my constituent. I've talked to her at length about doing this work. She's very excited. But I don't know if she knows the whole story. I don't know if this information will make her less likely to want to do this. So I support postponing, and I will speak to her. And let's also speak to the city solicitor and our legislative council and whoever we have to speak with to bring some light and heat on this, because the CDBG funds that are administered by the BRA are too important to this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Azak.
Thank you on the motion. So I appreciate the information that Councilor Farwell brought to us. I also believe I'm just a little concerned and confused because this is just one individual that's appointed to the BRA. I'm figuring there needs to be other people on this board. So who are the other people and what is happening? I was under the understanding that the mayor's office was reconstructing this board. So this is only one individual. So I would just like maybe clarification, or maybe speak to the mayor or the mayor's office, see what their plans are. And as Councilor Castro stated, I don't want to discourage anybody from volunteering, because these are volunteer boards, and people take their time to, serve on them. So I'll support whatever the council would, the will of the council, but I think we should find out a little bit more about this as well, as it is the mayor's appointment.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else? I could just take a moment. So my understanding, there is a meeting of number one, there's only two members of the board currently. So Dr. Wilson would be the third member making a quorum. The BRA's been operating without a quorum for the past few months. The next meeting of the BRA is March 19th. At that time, there would have been a quorum to try to deal with some of the development issues that are before the BRA. By postponing this vote, we'd be postponing those issues as well. It will be what the will of the council is, but I thought it important to inform the council that the BRA is operationally paused right now until we get one additional member, and that's just backing up some of the development projects that are currently before it. Councilor Farwell.
Just a point of information, during the administration of Mayor Harrington, and I think Councilor Rodriguez may remember, there was no BRA. So I do think, because I don't want to impede progress, I do think whatever issues might have to be resolved can be resolved through the city solicitor's office and Mr. May. I don't necessarily think that it has to be through the redevelopment authority and those two members. So if we operated once without them, perhaps we can progress a little bit here without a working board right now and still get done the important work that has to be done. I'm just concerned with, I want a financial accounting, I want to know what property we own, and I want a foundation on which these appointees can build. Thank you.
Well, I would also, in 1 second, Councilor, I'd also state that if we want some light shed on these issues, or the BRA to look into these matters, they would need a quorum to vote to investigate these matters. By us essentially hamstringing the board, they themselves can't move to progress for an investigation or vote to refer this matter or whatever it may be. So I just want to put that out there, that by keeping this board in essentially an operational pause, if there's any ability for the board itself to investigate or rehabilitate on these issues, we're hamstringing them from doing that. I think essentially we could do two things. We could refer this to the necessary, whether it be the U.S. Attorney's Office or the AG's office. I think we can do that. But I myself have a problem hamstringing this board when there's so many development matters before it that need to be addressed. Councilor Lally.
On the motion, Mr. President?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Councilor Farwell, I was hoping to find out, you're saying that we can submit this, or submit a request to the U.S. Attorney, so that the U.S. Attorney takes a look at the BRA and the last couple of years of its operation. Would that be in the form of a couple of councilors writing a letter, or would that be some kind of resolution from the body? If it's a resolution from the body, then postponing this matter 2 weeks might be, it might not be a long enough time, because we'd be voting on a resolve that night as well. I don't think we should be voting against the nominee for, in an attempt to, protect the future of the BRA and the nominee. But I also want to make sure that if we postpone it, we don't postpone it a couple times and string them along. So I guess my question would be to Councilor Farwell, and it would be, what would you envision the U.S. Attorney's involvement to be like? Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor.
Through you, Mr. President, to Councilor Lally and others, my concern is not the nominee, and I don't mean to be cold about it. My concern is that this community receives community development block grant funds. If anything is out of the ordinary with respect to compliance with laws, with changing salaries, with scrubbing data from the database, I don't want this community. And there is a climate in Washington, and let's be honest about it, that you're penalized for mistakes. The federal government now is in a very proactive clawback what they might think was improperly spent or improperly used. My concern is protect the interests of the residents of this city and future CDBG funds. So what I would envision, if this is postponed a couple of weeks, I would file an order and ask the council to send a written request by vote of this body to the U.S. Attorney to come down and go through all of the different issues that have been identified. And once they've done that, we'll know, did something happen that was in violation of federal law, or didn't it? That's not up to me to decide. It's not up to us to decide. But I do think there has been enough written that, the old expression, where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, this document alone tells me that something is very, very wrong. You just do not go into the paychecks payroll system for the Brockton Redevelopment Authority and start increasing salaries by $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. And I don't think we can just wink and nod at that. I think we have to take this seriously. Thank you.
Councilor Castro.
Thank you again, Mr. President. So I'm having second thoughts on this, and I respect everyone's opinion, but I'm thinking that it's two different things. And this is why. Anyone that's on this board had nothing to do with actions of employees, and I don't believe would be tainted by it. And I also am aware, and I confirm this information with the clerk's office, that of the two existing members of this BRA board, one of them is the governor's appointee, and her appointment ends on March 31st of this year. So I suspect they're trying to get this done tonight so that they can have their votes, and as Councilor Thompson said, continue on with some of their existing work. But I think it's a separate issue from investigating and asking the feds to investigate what has happened there. I think we can still do that anyway. I don't think this board would be impacted by it, but they would be able to hang on to the several grants that they still have. So I'm going to withdraw my second, with all respect, because if we postpone 2 weeks, that takes us to the 24th.
Well, don't do it yet. Let me just say something before you do that.
Oh, you want to speak too? Okay. All right, I'll reserve withdrawing my second, and I will sit down. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rodriguez.
Well, for the same reason, for the reasons that the Councilor DeCastro said, that the third appointee to the board, her term expires on the 31st of March. That board will be again not having a quorum. So if that is the case, what I'm saying is that pausing it for a couple weeks isn't going to hurt anybody, because it's not like they can vote on something and then leave it up to the two-man board to decide, or two-women board to decide what goes on in the organization anyway. So that's one of the another reason why I think, because when we send a vote down through this body, in the sense that has some negative votes by someone who has volunteered himself or herself to participate in a particular council or committee of this city, it sends a real bad negative vibe down the spines of every single person. So I'm trying to avoid one of those no votes. A particular pause isn't going to make that much of a difference, because if you've got a board without a quorum as of March 31st, which is only a couple weeks away anyways, to me it makes very little sense to rush this through and then be in the same position that we're in starting on April 1st. So that's one of the reasons why I think, in order to prevent a no vote for a volunteer, a dedicated woman, a professional woman who wants to be in this committee, it sends a bad message to a volunteer, because we're trying to resolve a problem of something that happened way before these volunteers signed on. So to prevent that from happening, I'm still going to insist on postponement, because we're going to have a non-quorum board beginning on right after March 31st.
No, you won't.
Mr. Clerk, you're shaking your head no?
Just to let you know, even though that term ends on the 31st, outside of a resignation letter from that appointee, they stay on the board as a holdover until the governor appoints a replacement. A duly qualified replacement is sworn in, so that person is still active as a holdover. So they would still be on, and I'm not telling you what you should be doing or not doing, but that person is still a member of the board until their replacement by the governor, or that board member were to file a resignation letter that would then take them off the board.
I don't have a single issue with doing this today or not doing it today. My whole point is for us not to vote against a qualified individual who wants to be on this board. So it doesn't matter how many no votes the person gets or how many yes votes the person gets. If it's not a unanimous vote for somebody who's well qualified to be on this board, it sends a real bad message to the community that we as the body is basically now against certain appointments, for certain appointments. Again, a volunteer who is qualified to be on this particular board. So if you folks can live with that, oh well. I'm just saying that I think it looks a lot better for this body. Get whatever information we can get, come back in 2 weeks and vote yes, for this individual to move forward, versus giving her a no vote tonight. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Farwell, last word on this matter.
Well, thank you, but this is an important matter, and through you to Councilor DeCastro and others, we're making this about making sure the BRA can go forward with its work, and we're making it about the nominee and making sure that there's no negative vote for her. To me, it's about what went on at the Brockton Redevelopment Authority that allowed employees, without the knowledge of the board and without authorization, to go in and manipulate the payroll system involving federal funds. And isn't it paramount in this community that we know the financial foundation of the BRA? Does anyone here know how much money they have? Does anyone here know how much property they own? Do we want to empower a board to just carry on and perhaps vote to expend money and vote to take actions when we really don't know what the financial picture of the BRA is? I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all. I think Council Rodriguez is quite right. At least a 2-week postponement. Have the city solicitor come in. She's working on looking at deeds of the properties that the BRA owns, find out what is their financial picture, and then find out exactly whether we are best to go forward and just let them operate and ask for an investigation, or whether we should call a timeout and say, wait a minute, maybe we don't want to start expending money. Maybe we don't want to have the BRA function pending an investigation. I mean, I just think it's in this community's best interest to find out what happened, who was involved, and did it violate federal law. That's all I'm asking.
Thank you, Councilor, and thank you all, councilors, for this discussion. Yeah, right. There's a motion on the floor that's been properly seconded, unless you want to move forward, withdraw on your second.
No?
Okay.
It stands.
Then we have a motion that's on the floor, properly seconded, to postpone this matter for 2 weeks. We'll move forward with a hand vote. All in favor? Opposed? The matter carries.
Okay, postpone.
This matter's been postponed for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Mr. Clerk, next item, please.
Item 26, we have the appointment of Patrick Hill of Brockton, Mass. to the position of Commissioner of Public Works for the City of Brockton for a 3-year term ending February 2028. In City Council, February 24th, 2024. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Councilors, the question is on confirmation by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Durancourt?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The appointment is confirmed.
Item 27, we have the appointment of Sandra A. Knight of Brockton, Mass. to the position of Human Resources Director for the City of Brockton for a 3-year term ending February 2028. In City Council, February 24th, 2024. Read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Councilors, the question is on confirmation by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Durancourt?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The appointment is confirmed.
Mr. President,
Councilor Lally.
I'd like to make a motion for reconsideration on items 26 and 27 in the hopes they do not prevail.
Second?
Matter for a motion for reconsideration in the hopes that it does not prevail has been made and properly seconded. All those in favor of reconsideration? Those opposed? The motion is denied.
Item 28, ordered in accordance with the general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, that the City Council authorizes the collector, treasurer, or other department head with the approval of the mayor to enter into contracts to identify and pursue federal government reimbursements for or other revenues or available resources that may be generated by programs or activities being carried out by the municipality, and to provide that payments for services under such contracts may be made from the reimbursement or revenues recovered as a result of the services performed without appropriation of such revenues. In City Council, January 27th, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable. Adopted in City Council meeting February 10th, 2025. On February 12th, 2025, Councilor Lally filed for reconsideration on this order. In City Council, February 24, 2025, Councilor Lally motioned reconsideration and postponement to next City Council meeting, taken collectively by a roll call vote taken by yeas and nays. 10 members present and all voting in the affirmative. Councilor Tavares absent. And I believe...
Councilor Lally.
I'd like to make a motion to introduce an amendment. The city clerk and the legislative council have a copy of the amendment.
Second.
A motion has been made to amend the current order before us and properly seconded. We'll proceed with the hand.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
Of allowing me.
Yeah. Wait.
Have him read the motion
Read
first.
I'll read it. My mistake. Amendment, motion to amend the order so the language reads as follows. In accordance with general laws of Massachusetts, Chapter 44, that the City Council authorizes the superintendent of schools with the approval of the mayor to enter into the memorandum of understanding Every Student Succeeds Act transportation claiming under Title 4-E of the Social Security Act, MOU or contract to authorize the city to receive partial reimbursements for foster care transportation. The MOU is attached and incorporated with this order, filed by Councilor Lally.
Councilors, we'll move forward with an amendment by hand vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The amendment carries. Now, councilors, the question is on adoption as amended by a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Durancourt?
No.
Farwell?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes,
8 in the affirmative, 1 in opposition.
the order is adopted.
Item 29, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $49,986 from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security to the Brockton Fire Department. In City Council, February 10, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
The question is on adoption by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Durancourt?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes,
10 in the affirmative.
the order is adopted.
Item 30, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $775,475.14 from the Executive Office of Public Safety and Security to the Brockton Police Department. In City Council, February 10, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
The question is on adoption by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Durancourt?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes,
10 in the affirmative.
the order is adopted.
Item 31, ordered that the following name sum be, and the same is hereby transferred, as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Transfer of $1,098,593 from certified free cash to the opioid settlement fund. In City Council, February 10th, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Councilors, the question is on adoption by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Durancourt?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes,
10 in the affirmative.
the order is adopted.
Item 32, ordered that the following name sum be, and the same is hereby transferred, as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Transfer of $8,106,226 from certified free cash to Chapter 324 Supplemental Reserve. In City Council, February 10th, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
The question is on adoption by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Durancourt?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes,
10 in the affirmative.
the order is adopted.
Item 33, ordered that the following name sum be, and the same is hereby transferred, as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Transfer of $50,000 from auditor full-time salaries to auditor postage. In City Council, February 10th, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Councilors, the question is on adoption by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Durancourt?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes,
10 in the affirmative.
the order is adopted.
Item 34, ordered that the following name sum be, and the same is hereby transferred, as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Transfer of $750,000 from DPW Highway Snow Removal, $500,000. From DPW Highway Paving, $50,000. From Finance Full-Time Salaries, $100,000. From Mayor Purchase of Service, $100,000. To Law Property Insurance, $650,000. To Law Court Judgments, $100,000. In City Council, February 10th, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
The question is on adoption by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Durancourt?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Nicastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes,
10 in the affirmative.
the order is adopted.
Item 35, ordered that the following named sum be and the same is hereby transferred, as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Transfer of $268,000 from Parks and Recreation retained earnings to Parks and Recreation purchase of service, $160,000. To Parks and Recreation goods and supplies, $68,000. To Parks and Recreation park playground improvements, $15,000. To Parks and Recreation summer playground improvements, $25,000. In City Council, February 10, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Councilors, the question is on adoption by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Durancourt?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Nacastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The order is adopted.
Item 36, resolved. Be it resolved by the Brockton City Council to invite Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer, Mayor Robert Sullivan, and Irene Giannopoulos, City Auditor, to appear before the Finance Committee to discuss and provide an update on the current status of the FY25 budget. In City Council, February 10, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Councilors, the question is on adoption by hand vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The resolve is adopted.
Item 37, resolved to invite Ward 2 City Councilor Maria Tavares, as she is also an appointed special representative of the International Diplomatic Alliance, IDA, a Missouri nonprofit corporation, and any IDA representative she wishes, to appear before the Finance Committee of the Brockton City Council to discuss and present concrete examples of the work of IDA as a non-governmental organization focused on humanitarian activities with a mission to preserve and address worldwide basic needs, including healthcare, education, social services, citizen support, food distribution, and combating homelessness. In City Council, January 27, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Councilors, the question is on adoption by hand vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The resolve is adopted.
Item 38, resolved, be it resolved by the Brockton City Council to invite Brenda Perez, Chief of Police, or her designee, to appear before the Finance Committee to discuss the Brockton Police Department's strategy and planning for enforcement and implementation of the ordinance prohibiting camping on public property and the ordinance prohibiting loitering in public places. In City Council, January 27, 2024, read and referred to the Standing Committee on Finance. That report was favorable.
Councilors, the question is on adoption by hand vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The resolve is adopted.
Item 39, ordered that the following named sum be and the same is hereby transferred, as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Transfer of $200,000 from Treasurer Debt Service, $150,000. From Assessor Personal Services Non-Overtime, $50,000. To Assessor Purchase of Service, $200,000.
Referred to Finance.
Ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $3,500 from the Department of Industrial Accidents to the City of Brockton.
Mr. President?
Councilor Farwell.
Mr. President, we've just read item number 40. After we read item number 41, I would move to suspend the rules, take these collectively and approve them tonight.
Second.
Motion to take agenda item 40 and 41 collectively and under a suspension of rules has been made and properly seconded. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? The matter passes. Mr. Clerk.
Item 41, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $1,300 from the MED project to the Brockton Police Department. Question now.
The question becomes, the question is adoption by both agenda items number 40 and 41 by roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Azak?
Yes.
Durancourt?
Yes.
Farwell?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Lally?
Yes.
Nacastro?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Tavares?
Yes.
Texera?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
10 in the affirmative.
The orders are adopted. Number 42.
Item 42, ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $15,000 from the Department of Conservation and Recreation to Parks and Recreation.
Referred to Finance.
Excuse me. Ordered that the City Council authorizes the acceptance and expenditure of the total grant funds in the amount of $62,461 from the Office of Justice Programs, Bureau of Justice Assistance to the Brockton Police Department.
That is referred to Finance.
We have resolved, whereas prostate cancer occurs in approximately 250,000 new cases every year. Whereas, according to the American Cancer Society, approximately 1 in 41 men will die from the effects of prostate cancer. Whereas prostate cancer disproportionately affects African American men. Whereas African American men are more than twice as likely to die from prostate cancer than others. Be it resolved to have Stephen Bernard of the Brockton area branch of the NAACP and his designee appear before a committee of this council to make a presentation on the efforts of the organization to spread awareness of the efforts to educate the public on the need for early diagnosis and treatment options via the Prostate Cancer Awareness Campaign.
Referred to Finance.
Resolved, be it resolved by the Brockton City Council to invite Troy Clarkson, Chief Financial Officer, and Priya Tahiliani, Superintendent of the Brockton School Department, to appear before the Finance Committee to discuss and provide an update on the current status of the transportation budget and general update for the Transportation Department.
Referred to Finance.
Item 46, resolve, whereas the recruitment of qualified candidates to become members of the Brockton Police Department is an annual priority. Now therefore be it resolved, have Chief Brenda Perez and any other appropriate staff member she may determine be invited to a meeting of the City Council to discuss current recruitment efforts and to provide any recommendations to enhance the city's ability to attract and recruit candidates for appointment to the Police Department.
Referred to Finance. Councilor Azak.
I'd like to motion to accept a late file.
Second.
Motion for a late file.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded for a late file. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Mr.
Resolve, a resolution welcoming Cape Verdean volunteers and staff from the Cape Verdean Association Fight Against Gender-Based Violence. Whereas the City of Brockton, hereafter the city, is a municipal corporation duly organized and existing under the laws of the state of Massachusetts. Whereas the City Council is the legislative body of the city. Whereas the city recognizes the increasing number of domestic violence cases in the City of Brockton within the Cape Verdean community, the city desires to welcome each individual and provide learning experience in the battle to end intimate partner violence, both here and in Cape Verde. Whereas Family and Community Resources, Inc. works collaboratively with the Brockton Police Department to assist child, adolescent, and adult survivors of intimate partner violence and hold offenders accountable. Whereas Family and Community Resources, Inc. will provide supervision, shadowing opportunities, community engagement, and statewide learning experiences relative to local, state, and federal laws relating to intimate partner violence and human trafficking for 3 months. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Brockton, Mass. That the city extends a warm welcome to Indira Virginia Semedo Mendonca and Azalda Maria de Barros dos Santos from Priya, Santiago, Cape Verde. To assist them in ending gender-based violence in their country, the city will provide learning opportunities that they may take back to Cape Verde.
This matter will be referred to Finance. Any other late files? Seeing none, councilors, councilor recognition. Any councilors like to speak? Seeing none, and with no further business before this council, I declare this meeting adjourned.